Hi, just thought I'd do a bit of a follow-up on some TV show reviews that I've done in the past. Just to give you an idea how I think they're going. It's just my opinion, but I think we've been served pretty well in TV recently. There's been some very good productions, and the first one that I'd like to mention again is The Good Place. It's a sitcom starring Ted Danson and Christian Bale, two troopers that have been around for a while and know their comedy pretty well. They've both done a number of shows, especially Ted Danson, who's really become a veteran these days. It's a very quirky sitcom, and I thought the premise was, being set in heaven was going to be probably one of the worst premises you could imagine. However, there is method to the madness of the creators of this show. It was obvious from watching each episode that they knew what they were doing. They knew their craft pretty well. These shows were well written, and even though the characters didn't really seem to be people that I would populate heaven with. I mean, who knows who deserves to go to heaven? I mean, it's just talk about a moral dilemma there. That's the ultimate in tough casting. So that was an issue for me, of course, with this show. But I mean, even though we're talking a sitcom, it still has to have its own internal logic, so you can't stuff around with that. It's best to stick within the parameters that you set. And so that was a thing in the back of my mind that wasn't, that didn't quite sit well with me. And I certainly thought a couple of these people were not, wouldn't have been my first choices for heaven. So that was interesting, and it didn't quite make sense to me. But then they sprung an amazing twist in the last episode. I won't reveal what it is. You might be able to figure it out, but I was too dumb to. So maybe, unless you've seen the show, you may not know yourself. So if you have this show on DVD or whatever, you're in for a bit of a surprise in the last episode. So I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it actually validates the whole show, and it really gives it a bit of a impetus for the second series. So it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. But basically, when you've got people who have power over life and death running a show in the guise of the Ted Danson type characters, you've got a pretty broad brush to work with. So they've got a lot of scope, and they've got some talented people there. And I think if they can keep reinventing themselves, this show's got a really bright future. So that was a real bright spot for me, because I was thinking this show may not even have legs to last one season, but I've totally changed my opinion on it. I'm very impressed now. And another show I was extremely impressed with, for different reasons, is Westworld, which that was an HBO production, and I mean, you expect HBO to come up with something pretty good. And in this case, they've done it again. It looks sumptuous. It just the visually, it is just an amazing looking TV series. I mean, there is something to be said for, TV is going way ahead of film, in my opinion. It's producing a product that, if you've got, say, like a 4K screen in your house, a big 4K screen, you're going to be getting like a private cinema experience these days with TV shows. It just looks amazing. It's obviously not cheap, but just because they've spent a lot of money on the eye candy, they haven't compromised with the storyline either. It's got a lot of guts to it, a lot of depth. And of course, you've got Anthony Hopkins. I mean, I love his work. He's a fantastic English actor, and he adds a lot of gravitas to the program. So that was a joy to watch. And although I was, I really couldn't quite work out what was going on initially with the show. It's quite a complex plot. And it's probably a show that you could watch several times easily, because there are quite a few layers in it, and unlike the original film, which I actually enjoyed, the Yul Brynner movie Westworld, I thought was quite a good movie, but it's just scraping the surface when it comes to the issues of say, androids play acting as bad guys in the West. It takes this a lot further, and it brings up lots of philosophical questions, heavy philosophical questions about the questions of self. What is self? What is human? What is life? All these philosophical questions are basically delved into in the context of a very, very complex plot, which sort of does play out at the end. But there are elements of it that I didn't quite pick up, and like I say, I'd probably learn a lot by watching the show again. It's got that much depth in it. So it is a joy to watch. You've just got a fantastic cast, fantastic writing, obviously fantastic art direction. At the director of photography's done a brilliant job, and so they have, as far as dressing up a set is concerned, it just looks fantastic. I really didn't expect anything like that, and although I should know that HBO, has got a great track record. HBO and Showtime, when you see those names at the beginning of a production, you've got a pretty good chance it's going to be a pretty good show. And Westworld was outstanding. Another sci-fi. I'm sorry for putting two sci-fis in, but I am a bit of a sci-fi fan, and you don't get a lot of quality sci-fi on TV. A lot of it comes from the Sci-Fi channel, and I think most of the stuff they produce is crap, to be honest with you. So that doesn't leave much left over, to be honest. Although there were a couple of time travel shows that were okay, but that were just recently produced, but they're not of the same quality as Westworld. Westworld stands out. The other one that stands out for probably it isn't as brilliant visually, although it's not bad. It has its moments, and that is The Man in the High Castle, which I've also reviewed and gave a negative review for the first series. However, to give the producers their due, they've picked they've pulled up their socks, and the second series has been a revelation. The pacing of the plot is so much better. That was my major beef. It was just plodding along, and fairly similar to a British show with a similar theme, an alternate history theme about England being defeated by the Germans in the Battle of Britain. That's SSGB, news show. I watched the first episode and found it incredibly tedious, to be honest with you. I think some of these programs, they may use half-baked inferior scripts, and they think, well, the way we'll dress it up, we'll put lipstick on a pig, in effect, by basically putting it in the context of an alternate history, and see, hopefully the people won't notice there's still not that great a script. Well, I noticed. That's just my opinion again, but I was not impressed with SSGB. But whereas the Man in the High Castle, that really is hit its stride in the second series, and of course we've got a third series coming up. It's already been greenlit, so that's fantastic. And also that has the classic thing of one of the actors, the main actors, who is the head Nazi in New York. He's actually an English actor. Again, you wouldn't have a clue because he does the American accent so brilliantly. But yes, he's English. So I only discovered that when I saw an interview with him. So that's interesting. But the quality of the show, is top notch, and I have no reason to believe that the third series won't be as good as the second. I think they may have learnt their lesson with the sluggish plotting in the first series, but time will tell on that one. So yeah, those were really bright spots with current programs, fairly new current programs. There's another an existing program that's been around for a long time, which I also would like to give an honourable mention to, and that's Suits. And it's in a totally different genre. It's a law-based drama, and something I don't normally watch, I've got to admit. I'm not a big fan of that type of genre. Although there's a new one called Bull that Dr. Phil actually was the co-creator of, Phil McGraw. That's watchable as well, but I'm not here to talk about that new show. The Suits has been going for, I think, over 6 seasons or so now. Maybe that was a 7th. I can't even remember. I've lost count, to be honest with you. But the strength of Suits is they've got a fantastic ensemble cast. But the strength of the show really is it just keeps reinventing itself. And the other thing it really does, which a lot of these shows don't do, the initial premise of the Michael Ross character being an illegitimate lawyer and practicing without a license, they have followed through with that as a core storyline element right to this point. They've actually now seems to have resolved that particular storyline. This is where the challenge will be for the writers, in my opinion, that from now on, they've basically, we've concluded that story, unless they've got some other, they might throw another spanner in the works regarding his career, but that might be seen as a bit cheap. However, they have now resolved the Mike Ross problem by the looks of things. So now they're going to have to come up with different story angles. But the thing I love about Suits is they've been true to that main plot line of the premise of the show has been properly used. And so many times you will see shows like this that just uses a starting point, then they ramble off into some sort of a pap, right by the numbers type scenario. But they haven't done that with Suits. They have stuck with that as a core storyline element, and it's played out for at least 6 series. So I mean, if they got plenty of mileage out of it, and deservedly, it's a quality show. Again, it looks fantastic. Mind you, you've got absolutely stunning women. Whoever does the wardrobing does a great job. I don't think all the staff in a legal firm look that hot in reality. They'd be on catwalks if they did. They look fantastic. And you know, the acting is good too. It's just it's great eye candy, great acting, great writing. What can you say? Fantastic show, very entertaining. So that's another one that's an old one that comes to mind. But there was another new show that I would like to mention too that I think is actually that has been it's in its 2nd season, but I think is actually another one with huge potential to go for a long run, and that is Lucifer. And to a large degree, it's all based on the casting. The casting of the character of Lucifer. The guy is just perfectly cast in that role. He's got that perfect mix of decadence and compassion. And actually, even though he's the devil, you think, what are you going to do with that? It's like the polar extreme of the Good Place. You got another show which is, I wouldn't call it a sitcom, a comedy, a drama comedy maybe, I guess you'd call Lucifer, but it's basically about the dark side. All these characters are coming from like his mother's from hell. He's from hell. He's got his brother there. He's got a dead brother who's an ex-soprano. Who keeps popping up, and so it's sort of like all the bad guys to counterbalance all the good people in the Good Place. But it's very well written, and it has a bit of comedy in it. And as I say, the main character, that actor is brilliant. He pulls off the role. It's just it fits him like a glove, and the supporting cast again is good, but it really revolves more around him. He is the central character, and he makes Lucifer, in my opinion. He's really lucked on to the perfect role for himself there, that actor. And yeah, that's a show I think is going to have a long run. I don't see it losing any steam at all, and it again seems to be able to reinvent itself and keep us entertained. So I'm looking at a long run there. So we've got some really good programs in the pipeline at the moment. Another one that's been around for some time too, I also want to give an honourable mention to. This is one I always hang out to watch, is Gotham. And I mean, the thing I love about Gotham is, again, a fantastic cast. Not that I knew them, but before the occasion. But what I love about Gotham is it takes a totally new angle to the Batman type franchise. It's like a prequel to it, but it's interesting the way that they're portraying characters like the development of Penguin and Riddler. And they had Mr. Freeze as well, although I think he might be just in for 1 or 2 eps. I'm not sure I can't remember what happened to Mr. Freeze. I think he might have died actually. But certainly they're certainly getting plenty of mileage out of Penguin and Riddler. They're developing really well, and plus there's some great female Nemesis characters there as well. It's just great, it's a fantastic mix, and I love the lead characters, and great ensemble going from strength to strength, and I don't know where that show is going to go each season. It tends to have a different focus each season, and maybe that's a smart move again to keep it fresh. So Gotham's another bright light currently. There's some really good quality programming on TV at the moment. I'm very happy